think you can go ahead and get started, right? Hello, everyone. This is the last session for today. So you're here either because you are genuinely interested in agentic transformation or just because you're staying for the giveaway that Arturo mentioned at the beginning, right? At the end of the session. So regardless of the reasons, we'll try to make it as useful as possible. And I'm happy to make it interactive. So if you have questions during the session, feel free to raise your hand and interrupt me. I'm all for interactive conversation. First of all, we thank our sponsors for allowing us to be here. UT, Pragmatic Institute, Civic, Product Site, and Alzheimer, I want to say. So thank you for letting us have this fun at the session. So why I'm talking to you? I spent 14 years in digital transformation, so we went through the waterfall, the cloud transformation, the AI transformation now. So at this point, you just feel like you're tired to say word transformation. I'm starting to use the word adaptation, so I'm just adapting to whatever new reality is. I represent a company called SoftServe. We are a service providing company, not an ice cream company, unfortunately, even though a lot of companies are mixing up. And I'm leading the AI strategy, right? I know it's a buzzword and people don't always understand what it means, right? So I'm leading the team of product managers, business analysts, and solution consultants who are helping customers to go through to implement AI better. And I'll talk today about some pillars of that transformation. Jensen Huang said that the IT department of every company is going to be the HR department of AI agents in the future. It scared me at first. And then I started thinking about it. Okay, so we're going to be writing job descriptions for things that don't sleep, don't quit, don't complain, and still getting things done in their first hours or weeks of work, kind of like junior consultants doing Big 4, Big 3 consulting companies. So we started thinking about it. What does it actually mean? How can we help enterprises to implement that philosophy? And because it's a pretty big transformation for a lot of companies, right? And we start explaining this by kind of showing the evolution, right? At first, we started with like capability accumulation. So let me show how you can do things, right? Then when everybody learned how to do things, now how can we do things more efficiently, right? So we started era of process optimization, process transformation, if you want. Then there was this era of digital transformation. How can we implement a digital scalable system and data and integrate it to your physical assets? And now we are entering this paradigm of agentic capabilities, where we're not just adding one more features like RPAs or platforms or some other stuff. We are rethinking how enterprises would operate. And according to the Stanford research, there was like 78% are embedding AI into operations. The rest 22 are probably setting up the working group in terms of how to start doing AI transformation. So they will be there as well. Why is he doing it, right? Improve performance, ensure quality, optimize resource utilization, reduce costs, and boost the revenue. Now, what are the pillars, right? So how to uncover that? So when we work with the clients, with the companies, we present them 3 pillars how they can implement AI. They can do agentic business processes, they can do digital product innovation, or they can do agentic engineering. So when we talk about business processes, this is where like most of today's presentation will be about. This is how to transform your corporate functions, how to transform your operations using agents. your digital product innovation is about introducing digital, like AI features, AI-powered features to your product, right? And there's DLC efficiency and, of course, how to write your requirements, your UX design, and your code more efficiently. So when we talk about the product innovation, a lot of companies are kind of starting to understand that if they don't introduce AI features, the client base will shift to something else which are offering those, right? So, like, for example, I'm using my fitness tracker, and I don't want to look at the statistics and do some analysis by myself. I just ask in a conversational agent, like, hey, what was my progress over the last 3 weeks? Like, when did I not get enough sleep or something? So all the reporting capabilities, like if your product has some reporting capabilities, either built-in or some embedded, like with either Power BI, Tableau, and any other visualization tools, right? So you need to transform those because conversational agent becomes a natural way how people consume the information. And digital product innovation allows you to go through that era of competition, right, and to get there earlier so people don't go away from your product. And the DLC efficiency, I think we heard even today, like on all 3 sessions that I've attended before, they were all about like efficiency. Somebody was showing the white coding, and somebody was showing the results of the actual applications they built, etc. So that's now. That's not even future. That's already reality. So I want to focus on agentic business processes because this is what leads to agentic enterprise, right? So in agentic enterprise, you have a lot of, in regular enterprise, you have a lot of corporate functions, right? You have your strategy, you have your supply chain, marketing, sales, whatever, any other departments, right? When we start working with customers, we start thinking about how to not just embed one tool, but also transform your entire function, right? So if we're talking about supply chain, within supply chain, we have a lot of things, right? The order processing, the procurement processes, like all those logistical aspects. And you can build individual task agent, but you can also build the intra-department agent, right? So if one is working with your RFQs, for example, right? And you send the quote for receiving the quote for your orders, right? Another one is actually processing orders. Another agent may process and track the acknowledgement of those orders, right? And then it all becomes a part of one function which can scale your existing teams. Then you have your cross-department collaboration because your financial department or your accounting, account payable, account receivable, they also want to use agentic solutions for invoice reconciliation, for some other use cases. And now we're talking about the orchestration between those agents, similarly how humans interact between each other, the same way agents interact between each other. So and then the next level, we are talking about the cross-enterprises agent, right? Like, for example, one of the customers we were working with, they were like, we are offering solutions, and we understand that in a year, it's not humans who will be looking for our solution. It will be other agents of our customers who will be looking for solutions. And we want to make sure that our like SEO, our website, our digital marketing, digital ads, everything is discoverable not by humans, but discoverable by agents, because we already seen that. And I'm noticing even like by your personal behavior, right? So when you look for something, like we used to Google a lot, now I'm using Claude or GPT to do that because I like the results better. I can clarify my requirements better, etc., to do any sort of search that I'm looking for. So the agentic enterprise, right? It consists of multiple layers, right? So on top of it, we have all of these use cases. But then we cannot just implement pilots, because a lot of you probably implemented some pilots already based on AI, but not all of them are scaling. So why? Because we need to build a foundation for it, right? So when we say we're introducing agents, they need to be treated similarly how your interns are treated, right? So you cannot hire an intern, just leave it there, write instruction one time, and don't watch them, right? So you need to build a system which will track their performance, which will track their access, which will track their kind of progress, how they are doing things, and give the feedback. So similar structure will need to be done for AI agents, right? When we talk about governance, we need to have all their, obviously, security frameworks, et cetera, because they become more and more autonomous, right? They make more and more decisions for us. And we need to train people how not to be scared of agent, but also how to manage them more efficiently, how to leverage their power and work together. And this leads to trust, right? So you need to build that trust between agents. And of course, you cannot build trust from your massive operations, from your core functions, right? You need to start with something small. So with supply chain or finance or procurement, right? So when you start in those corporate functions, it's not as scary to introduce AI there. And we go through all those pillars. Like, of course, we are like engineering company, so we do technology basis, we do data layer for them, we do the service delivery part. But the most important piece I wanted to focus on the bottom is the value realization, right? So how can you show your customers to project the value, first of all, right? And then how to track it when you implemented it. So whenever we implement in our agentic program, we start with a business case, right? So within 30 days, we will implement your 3 agents, and here is your projected ROI. And only that, when we build it, when we realize it, when we show it, and they see the result, only that we move into the next phase. So what we are actually transforming.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure, yeah.
So when we are talking about this, are you assuming that the knowledge base is already built before for the agents to operate on top of it, or is that data layer that you're talking about just add?
Yeah, so data layer is about that. When we picking up the use case for the 30 days, for example, we start with something where our data readiness assessment already done and we know there is data, but then to scale, we say now we need to make sure we do the data layer foundation for your operations, right? And then we can start building the use cases on top of it. There will be a slide about that in more detail. So, yeah, that's a great question. And I remember that I remind you that I encourage the questions during the session. So thank you for asking that. So let's say you enter to the customer, right? And then they asking, like, we have no idea where to start, right? So we usually start with a scary version of their capability map, right? So this is very high-level value chain and very generic value chain, right? So we rarely go with this version because we customize it, right? This is a skeleton that we can show on a, if we bumped into the meeting where we have no idea who we're talking to, right? Where partners are introducing us, like the SoftServe is partnering with all their hyperscalers, AWS, Microsoft, Google, and NVIDIA. So they introducing us sometimes to their customers, and we're like, which even industry they represent or something. So to the first call, we're saying, we've done the analysis of the process architecture, right? So we've done the analysis of your key value chain and your supportive capabilities. And we understand where there is an optimization opportunity, specifically with agentic, right? Because how we do it, we analyze where right now enterprises are using a lot of manual routine processes, right? So there is a digital maturity assessment that comes behind that when we are analyzing the enterprise maturity. We analyzing the department by department, how mature they are in specific functions. And then we build a to-be state, like, hey, this is how your future might look like when we go through that optimization, right? We put 5 to 35%. That's a conservative estimate because I know already, like the project that I personally was leading, and we had a significant amount of optimization just by implementing the pilot within 30 days. So when we finish the implementation of the entire function, it will be more than 35% in procurement specifically. But we want to be conservative, and this gives you the holistic view how to look at the enterprise and how to see which functions to start with. Because sometimes the opposite, the alternative method to the process architecture one is a use case-based approach. So when you have use case-based approach, usually the loudest voice is winning, right? So somebody who is screaming about, hey, I need AI, like, hey, I want AI, or something. So, and then companies start investing money without realizing that there is a bigger fish in neighboring department where we have like a lot of potential for your ROI, and we are not doing it. So that's why bringing holistic view to the enterprise helps us to justify where to start. So and now the maturity shift, right? So something that our point of view, how we believe the agents will progress. So we started with knowledge access, right? Like to your question earlier. So if you have your data organized, right? And we can start working with it, even if it's not organized, right? So I feel like right now using the vector database, you can use all the data sources that you can have, and AI is intelligent enough to go through those and analyze them. So knowledge access, this is your primarily ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever you use experience, right? The next level is a task completion, right? So some of the routine tasks that user can complete, I don't know, writing emails, responding to emails, so some individual siloed tasks that can improve your consistency, right? The next level is a process orchestration. So now we're saying about multi-step approach and multi-agent orchestration. So when we have one agent who is listening to your mailbox, and I'll give you one example of the real project. So there is an order acknowledgement process, right? So when you send a purchase order, the vendor needs to acknowledge it that they received it and they're going to promise to deliver on time. So on that time, we need to do few actions. The first agent will be listening to your mailbox and will be listening for those, reading through the emails and understand which one is acknowledgement and try to map it to your existing order in your ERP. Then the next one will be doing the kind of OCR things and intelligence behind it in order to validate whether or not the acknowledgement that they send is matching to your order, the original order. And the third one will be doing the updates in your ERP system, right? So now we took the process and we built 3 agents and 1 orchestrator on top of them who are optimizing. It's not the entire process, right? But it's a piece of the process, which was, it took the department of 50 people were working on just like on those orders acknowledgement in the companies that we work with, right? So this is the step where we are right now, right? So I feel like process orchestration is already reality for a lot of companies, and this is where we believe that the most of enterprises who want to be who want to keep up with the market, they need to be there right now. The next one is operational autonomy, right? This is completely under human oversight, and this is fully automated process, right? So this is the future, but not far future, I would say. So the 4th step that organizations are coming through, or operational autonomy, I believe, the end state of the function that we will see. How we do that journey? So we start, like I said, we start with Agentic Catalyst, right? This is a 30-day sprint where we bring the best brain from your product side and from your technology side. So from product side and technology, we analyze this process and design to be not just implementing the routine task automation, but also rethinking the process, how it may be transformed within the next 30 days, right? So we transform in the process first, and then we see how the AI can help us. So AI amplifier, this is the foundation. This is the second step where we talked about the data. We talked about all the foundation, infrastructural foundation, security models, and governance that need to be there, right? So once you see the quick win, now you can build a business case for your leadership to say, okay, I'm seeing the results. agentic is powerful. Now let me go through the next stage and let me invest into the foundation to scale. And AI Hub, this is a fully functional operating model where enterprise has their own, like it could be AI COE, AI Lab, AI Hub, you name it. But that's a fully functional department within the organization that has an intake process, prioritization process, and all the processes behind it. So another scary version, and this is the last scary slide, I promise you, that's a capability map when we need to build AI Hub. What do we mean by that, right? So we mean governance first. We need people and skills assessment. We need org structure, service delivery, data, tech, and value realization. So if we miss one of those pillars in our AI implementation, we're gonna fail at some point, right? So if your data is not ready, you will not have enough results, right? If your technology is outdated and you are not keeping up with AI needs, right? So then you will be out. If you are not tracking the value, if you are not tracking the benefit that you're realizing by AI, that also will not allow your leadership to move forward and you to build the future departments in the organization. So all of that is important, and we believe that just implementing pilot will end just with working with that pilot. But if we start with a broader program in mind, with all those pillars that needs to be covered, then we will achieve the true transformation of the enterprise with Agentic.
Quick question.
Sure.
So on the data layer side of things, I think there was definitely an unlock for me just in terms of data actually being the ground truth for how the system iterates and becomes better. Mm-hmm. And I noticed you mentioned a vector SQL database, and I'm just wondering if you have any more sauce on that in terms of, if that's one universal SQL database that's shared throughout the system, or just kind of what that looks like.
So that, first of all, I'm not a data architect, right? So we do work with data architects, and that's why I'm not able to go deeper to that. But I can say on a data governance overall, right? So we need to make sure that we are not building something just for AI. We are modernizing this data foundation layer because the enterprise would still need to do it, right? So AI just help us to unlock that conversation. Hey, you had your ERP data on-prem, for example, for ages, right? Every cloud provider would come to you and say, hey, you need to go cloud. And they're like, not enough business case, not enough interested, right? We are not ready. So we're using AI just to start that conversation. Hey, if you want those shiny objects, if you know all those things, now let's move your data to the cloud, for example, and now we can start playing with it, right? Because if you're on-prem, we will be very limited in terms of capabilities that we can provide you with Agentic, right? So, but to go deeper to your question, we will need to talk to the data architects who are working with us. Okay. So the takeaways. Pilots don't fail, foundation do. If we miss the foundation, right, if your agent will start hallucinate, if your agent will start sending random emails, questions, blah, 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 the immediate trust will go down, and we will not have enough buy-in from a leadership to move forward. Right? Agents need a job description similar to your intern, right? And that's a key philosophy that we are implementing, that we need to treat AI agent as a very skilled, kind of tireless intern that joined in your company. So whatever you give them defines their performance. So the third one is about security, right? So can AI automate this? Most likely, yes. But the question is, what breaks if it does? So if we do implement this AI feature in your medical device industry, for example, you will have issues with your PII, with your PHI, and you will have issues with your probably compliance and regulations at the enterprise. So we need to be very careful when we answer that question. What can we do in order to make AI secure? So to have the trust. Speed to value comes from orchestration. This is about ROI. So if we do individual pilot, it will give some result, but it will not be enough to have the business case to transform your entire function. And human in the loop, right? We cannot underestimate it, how much oversight we need to implement in order to have your AI strategy, right? If we don't design how human is managing and can intervene it, we will fail the program. So I started with a quote of Jensen around the AI agents and IT departments. Now I wanted to close it with the role of product leaders, right? Like, who are we becoming as product leaders? And in my understanding, we will be architects of digital workforce, especially in the enterprise world. We will not be writing user stories. We will be writing rules that agents will live by. We are designing and defining the operating model of your interns that are very scalable and cost you much less than the actual intern, the human intern. So that was I wanted to leave you with, and look forward to continue the conversation. If you want to add me on LinkedIn, feel free to do that. And, yeah, open to any questions.
That was a lot to digest.
Yeah, I'm not sure who was first.
You can go first.
I was just going to ask, when you're building agents for the companies that you're consulting for and stuff, what do you tend to use to build out those agents?
So a few things it depends on. The first is the main cloud provider of the customer. Oh. So if client is a Microsoft shop, we use Copilot Studio for no-code and Azure Foundry for the pro-code solutions, right? If it's a Google shop, then we use Gemini Enterprise as no-code and Vertex AI for the data science-led agents. AWS has Bedrock, so if you are a AWS shop, we try, because we are partnering with all the hyperscalers, right? We don't want to introduce any new conflicts, so that's why we are just going with whatever customer is leaning towards to. Either is a multi-cloud customer or like have multiple providers. There are some third-party, like Workato, I can give you one of the examples, that's a really powerful middle layer tool that can work with any sources, right? So those are primary kind of enterprise-wide solutions that we are using with large enterprises. Of course, if it's a startup, then we can do the Claude agents and skills that they're building. They are very powerful and they're very dynamically evolving, like they launch in every other 2 weeks, right? So, but the enterprise also primarily services that we are using.
Thank you.
What are your thoughts on, because an agent needs a job description, right? But they also cannot have too much so that they hallucinate. So what are your thoughts on, like, how many agents will a company need, or so that it can also be a cost-effective solution? You don't have too many agents running around, but also not too little agents where you can have efficiency. Mm-hmm.
So we are thinking of from the perspective of the nature of tasks that the agents are tasked to do. So for example, like in the example I gave you with the purchase order acknowledgement, it could have been one agent, right? So we could have done one that kind of optimized the entire process. But then we also think about maintainability, right? So we don't want to build a lot into that one agent that cannot be reusable. Because, like, for example, when we implemented these 3 agents, one for listening, one for validation, and another one for the updates, basically, back to ERP system, then we can start reusing those building blocks. Like, okay, this listening agent can be not only used just for acknowledgement, it can be used for quotes, for invoices, for your bank statements, for all other things that are sent in via email. So let's reuse the same agent, right? So we are not hosting it twice, we are not building it twice, right? So we maintain it once, right? Because again, they need to be tuned, the LLMs will be updated, right? So we need to make sure we're using the right LLM, etc. So I would say there is no kind of a direct answer to that question, but we are trying to build it like a Lego blocks, right? So each Lego block can be reused as much as possible and maintained more efficiently. Did we miss question there?
Oh, yeah.
No? Okay.
So 2 questions. How are you guys utilizing this system to grow your own company? And then I'm curious how you guys price for something like this, because this seems very hands-on. It's not too clear-cut. I mean, I'm guessing there's different packages and tiers, whatever. But yeah, I'm just interested to kind of hear what this business model looks like and what's growing.
So in our own company, we did similar process architecture-based exercise. So we went through our key functions that we went through. That was our customer zero, right? So ourself. So we started with analyzing our recruitment process, accounting process, financial process. And this is where we started getting those numbers in terms of what efficiency can we gain. And we started kind of projecting similar to-be states, like how it may look like. So over last year, unfortunately, we had to let a lot of people go from corporate functions, right, because we became more efficient, right? So that was the beginning of our journey, like, because we didn't feel confident to tell us to our customers before we did it to ourselves first. So we ourselves went through that transformation. So I don't need HR. I think we decreased HR by 10 times just because now I'm as a manager, I'm not going to HR to ask some questions, right? I have a bot implemented to my teams that I can ask, like, and it answers like most of my questions, and it's also actionable, right? So it gives me, hey, this is the list of subordinates that ask for the PTO or something. This is a list of subordinates that the salary review is coming up, something like that, right? So the work that was previously done by HRs, now it's fully done by agents. So that's incredible. And regarding the services, like the model, I would say this is the best slide to describe it, right? So at the beginning, it's a catalyst, right? 30 days, very quick. I'm not allowed to pitch anything, right? So I'm not give you the price, but that's a like 30 days pilot that we are starting the journey with, right? The foundation one is more tiered based because depends on how messy your data is, how you with the cloud infrastructure, etc. Right? So that's the second stage, which is also usually fixed cost, right? Because we want to build enough foundation. An AI Hub is a typically price per month. Basically, depends on how much extension do you want from us as advisors, kind of to lead you to build, because we don't want to take the AI Hub from the clients, right? We want them to start building it. We want them to start growing this department by themselves, but we need to orchestrate it, to advise and to set up all those processes from the scary diagram. So we need to have all of that, and that depends how much advisory.
Okay, interesting. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, thank you so much for surviving the last session with me and helping me. Really appreciate it. Let's chat and continue conversation. Thank you.